Thanks for coming to this webinar, How to Run for a Soil and Water Conservation District Board. And we're representing several different soil and water conservation districts here today that all have the same law about who can run. So that's why we collaborated on this. My name is Eleanor. I work at West Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District on the west side of Multnomah County in Portland. We also have East Multnomah, SWCD, Clackamas, Marion, and Upper Willamette, which is Lane County, I believe. Before I pass it to our first panelist, I just wanted to say welcome and a little intro on soil and water conservation districts. A soil and water conservation district is a publicly funded organization that helps guide conservation efforts on privately held land for the benefits of wildlife, ecosystems, and the public. So our services are free for those within our districts who qualify. SWCDs offer in-person help on private lands, as well as technical assistance over the phone or email, educational events for the public, and many free resources on websites and in print. And we're having this webinar to tell you all about how to run for the board, because until 2023, you had to own or manage 10 or more acres of land to run for a board position at a soil and water conservation district. In 2023, Senate Bill 775 passed, which removed that requirement for counties with over 250,000 people, which includes all of our SWCDs here, as well as Washington County. And then some of us are board members at those, not us, me, but us three folks. There we go. Thanks for waving. And then we also have Sandy, who works at Oregon Department of Agriculture, who kind of oversees the SWCD program, and especially the laws and the elections part. So she is here to answer any hard questions. So basically, we're going to have our board members answer questions about how, what it's like to be on the board, what it was like to run, why they decided to run. And then we're going to have plenty of time for questions from folks who are in attendance. I'm going to pass it to Sean Looney, who is a board member at West Multnomah SWCD. She represents one of our at-large board of directors seats. She lives in Portland's Linton neighborhood and has served on our board, as far as my records showed, 2012 to 2015 as an associate director, and then from 2015 as an elected board member. Sean is a retired speech language pathologist who worked in Portland Public Schools. So Sean, if you'd introduce yourself, if you want to talk a little bit more about what an SWCD is, the benefits of serving on an SWCD board, and what drew you to our board originally.
I wonder how many people knew how a soil and water conservation district came to be, the when and the why. And it was early in the 1930s with the Dust Bowl, when 2.5 million farmers had to vacate, mostly in the Midwest, because on the Great Plains, because they did not conserve soil as they might have been able to do, and they all had to leave. 2.5 million people had to leave because there was no soil, and it was a whole huge dust storm that brought into being the soil and water conservation districts, first one being established in 1937. So we're coming up on 100 years of soil and water conservation districts. There are 45 soil and water conservation districts in Oregon, and they're each governed by independently elected boards of directors. So we would love to have you there. The 10, as Eleanor mentioned, the 10-acre requirement has been removed, and I think it's important to know why that happened. And it is because to make board appointments more inclusive and reflective of the diverse conservation challenges in urban settings, such as stormwater runoff, development impacts, things that are unique to urban environments. So we run the gamut here in Oregon with rural districts and urban districts and the districts that in Multnomah County, Washington County, Clackamas, Marion, and Lane counties that have the unrestricted ability to run for the board. I was on the associate director on the board from I think you said 2012, that sounds right, to 2015 when I became a regular board member and ran for election. I had heard about conservation districts, and a neighbor up the hill from me, I'm on 3 acres, so I'm at large. Almost every district that I am aware of has 1 or 2 at large positions, and then the others used to have the restriction of 10 acres. We in my neighborhood worked a lot on ivy, and one of my neighbors got a grant from West Multnomah to help us all work on our ivy, and that is how I became acquainted personally, and why I decided that West Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District did a big favor to me, and it was the least I could do to join that board and give back a bit.
Could you also talk a little bit about like the benefits of serving overall and like the great parts of being on the board?
Yeah, it is. We have at West Multnomah, I don't know if every Soil and Water Conservation District has a monthly meeting. We have a monthly meeting. And each month we have a staff member tell us what they've been doing and how it's going. And it's one of the highlights, really, of a board meeting, I think, to hear. You hear the financial statements and things like that. But the fun part, in my opinion, is to hear what the district conservation people are doing and help and share also and ask questions. How's it going? What more can be done? What can the board do for you? I would say staff is just really very competent, and I would guess in probably every conservation district we have a wonderful staff. And that's the fun part of being on a board is knowing what's going on. And sometimes we go on field trips, which are always fun, and see properties that our staff are working on, and that is also a highlight.
So thank you, Sean, for the introduction. Next up, we have Angela Plowhead from Marion Soil and Water Conservation District Board. She represents Zone 4 in that district um, and currently serves as the board chair. She has served on the district board since September 2022 as an associate director and began her first elected term in January 2025. Professionally, Dr. Angela Plowhead is a licensed psychologist specializing in cognitive assessment and decision making capacity. So I feel like this shows that there's so many diversity of backgrounds that can serve on a soil and water conservation district. You don't have to have a specific professional background. Angela or Dr. Plowhead, would you tell us about what you feel like the roles and responsibilities are for being on an SWCD board of directors and what drew you to the board in Marion?
So oftentimes when people hear the word director, they might be a little bit confused about what that actually means and what we actually do. So really, what our district is looking for are just community members who care about the future of our communities and local resources and who are willing to help guide the district's work. So that's the main criteria. That's the main thing that we're looking for in someone. Um, One thing that I would like to emphasize is that you do not have to be a farmer or someone with a background in conservation. Um, Really, just having a heart for conservation and wanting to be involved in your community are two of the biggest things that I think it's helpful to come with. So, our organization is strengthened by having directors with a lot of diverse skill sets, and that can be anything from finance and business management. So, for me, I've worked in large organizations. I'm also a business owner, so I bring that with me and some of those organizational skills. Someone who has experience in human resources, public service, education, community outreach, or really a lot of other areas of knowledge and areas of expertise. Now, that does not mean that we don't want farmers or people with a conservation background, because those are extremely useful to understanding what our technical staff do and the types of assistance that they're providing on the ground. So it does give you a little bit of a leg up to have that sort of background. And we love the farmers and conservation specialists that are on our districts. So what districts do? As directors, we're elected representatives of our local communities. We serve 4-year terms, and we're entrusted with helping to ensure that our district effectively addresses local conservation needs and opportunities. We are voluntary, so we are in unpaid positions. And our primary responsibilities really align around governance. Our board provides strategic direction for our district by doing things like establishing policies, setting priorities, overseeing long-range planning, approving strategic plans, annual work plans, as well as budgets, monitoring progress towards those district goals. So a simple way to think about what it is to be on a board is that the board focuses on the direction of the organization while staff carry out the day-to-day implementation of the programs and services that we offer. Boards are responsible for ensuring that the district maintains accountable, transparent, and fiscally responsible operations. So this includes things like reviewing and approving budgets, monitoring fiscal reports, ensuring public resources are managed wisely, and maintaining public trust. Another important responsibility is helping to identify and respond to local conservation needs. Conservation districts are unique because we are locally led, and our directors help to ensure that programs and services reflect the needs of landowners, producers, and community members that we all serve. Directors work closely with district staff and conservation partners. One of the board's key responsibilities is hiring and evaluating the district manager and supporting staff in accomplishing the district's mission. Directors also serve as ambassadors of the district. We do things like share information about district programs, build relationships with landowners, partner with organizations, local governments, and legislators. We're also out in the community listening to local conversation and concerns about what's happening in the world of conservation, and looking for opportunities that we can partner with other people. One way that we've done that since I have been chair since January is that I've been going out with the help of staff and presenting to all of our local governments, our city councilors, our county staff, so county commissioners, also going to neighborhood associations and presenting about what we've done, what the accomplishments have been that we have done over this last year, and how we have partnered with various organizations throughout our district. So Oil, Soil, and Water Conservation District Guidebook through the Oregon Department of Agriculture highlights several important responsibilities of a conservation district board. Some of those things are keeping the district's mission at the center of decision-making, developing long-range and annual work plans, reporting accomplishments to the public, which is one of those things that I was just telling you about that I've been doing, informing legislators and local officials about conservation efforts, building partnerships and recruiting future conservation leaders. So one way that we do that at our district is that we have a scholarship that we give, and so we're able to give 3 to 4 of those every year to students that are going on to higher education and conservation. So our boards function as a collective. The directors do not act independently, although I will point out that some boards actually delegate some of their authority to either a chair or to their district manager, and it really depends on how that particular district is set up. But we have that collaboration through discussion and shared decision-making. So each board member brings a different perspective, and together we make decisions that support the community, the district, and our local environment. At our district, we have monthly board meetings, and so those are usually 2.5 to 3 hours. They can be longer, depending on what's going on and how much complexity there is in that we have to deal with. We review meeting materials in advance. We participate on committees. So all of our board members are required to have at least one committee that they serve on outside of the monthly meeting. So that's our Natural Resources Committee, our Education and Outreach Committee, and our Admin Committee. We also have opportunities to represent the district at things like community events, statewide trainings, or legislative gatherings. The average time commitment for a board member, at least in our district, is around 6 to 8 hours per month. Some people can put in more if they want to be on additional committees or things like that. So I was asked to provide a personal reflection on why I decided to join the board. So for me, one of the important things is that I am a landowner. My family and I own 5 acres, so small landowner, but we live in an area that tends to have issues with our wells. So oftentimes wells in our area will run dry. There's lots of sedimentation or minerals that are in our well water. So even though we live in an area that has an abundance of water, I realized early on in owning my property that there are a lot of complexities to the water situation here in Oregon. We also have a lot of issues with water quality and our waterways. And so for me, that was really important because so much of our public water is drinking water. And so those were the issues for me that really drew me to want to be involved in what's happening at our water and soil conservation districts.
Next up is Ben Larson from the Upper Willamette Soil and Water Conservation District, serving at large seat 1 and also as the board treasurer. Ben has served since 2024 on the board. Um, you'll also notice that we tried to get a diversity of people who have served different amounts of time on the board on this panel, especially with the question we'll be asking Ben to reflect on what it was like to actually do the running and gather the signatures and do the paperwork. Hopefully, it's fresh in his mind. Just more intro. Ben is a local land steward and educator with over a decade of experience managing a diversified orchard, ranch, and riparian forest, and is involved in a multitude of agricultural research and soil and water conservation projects. Yeah, so Ben, can you talk about what it was like gathering the signatures, like doing the work of running for the board, and like what made you want to run?
My part's going to be a lot shorter because it was very simple. So I went to the ODA website and they have the guidelines, the dates, and links to the forms. There's just 2 forms to fill out. One of them is kind of about you. What are the legal things that make you eligible to run, and then the other one is the signature collection sheet. And I printed that one out and took it to a river day. I was with some local people and just got it all filled out there. I think you only need 10 signatures, but I got like 15 to be safe. Probably could have just filled it up to be extra safe, but I knew the people that I was getting signatures from were registered to vote in my county, so I wasn't worried about it. And then, yeah, sent them off to Sandy, and by the date listed on the website, sometime in August. And the one thing that was really really great about Sandy was she looked at them and saw that they hadn't been certified by the county clerk, and so I wasn't actually available to do that. Luckily, my partner was. I procrastinated, and it was the day they were due. I hadn't certified him. I couldn't, but my partner went in, drove to the county clerk office by 5 p.m. and got him certified, and sent him off to Sandy, and she gave the thumbs up, and that was that was basically it for running. And then got to see that 100,000 people voted for me. I was kind of like, whoa, I mean, that makes sense, but also like it's so weird. Um, yeah, that was basically it for the election process. So very straightforward. The ODA website has a page dedicated to running for a soil and water conservation seat. So just Google that website and it's pretty straightforward. And ask Sandy if you have any questions. Um, and then I was also supposed to talk about why I joined the board. And yeah, so when I was considering it, I just attended a board meeting and kind of saw how it was run, and I had been aware that we had recently gotten a tax base, and so there was a lot of shifting things at the district. I'd worked a lot with watershed councils previously, and very little with our local SWCD, and so I was interested what they were up to, and yeah, learned that they might like my experience wasn't really common on the existing board, and so I felt like I kind of had a niche to fill there. And they were also considering buying a hazelnut farm, and I'm a hazelnut farmer, and so I felt like I kind of had a few things to offer for like that like guidance and policy direction, strategic direction, and yeah, I was very welcoming and easy to just kind of start showing up and seeing familiar faces, and yeah, before I knew it, I was an elected board member, and it's going great.
I was curious what the niche was that you felt like the board was looking to fill that you offered. Was that the hazelnut
Oh
or something?
yeah, with my like land management background, so
Gotcha.
local farmer. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's great to hear that you felt it was a simple process, even though there was that last minute moment with the county clerk. Um, yeah. And did you get your bio in the voter guide as well? Was that part of your
Oh
experience?
yeah, I did do that. Yeah, just by emailing the League of Women Voters. This here's my bio after I had registered, I believe. Um, so yeah, that I didn't, wasn't really provided to me, but somebody that was more familiar with running for local office mentioned I should do that. And I was like, well, why not? I mean, I didn't need the votes, but it's a fine thing to, gives people a little more personable reason to vote for you, I guess.
Thank you for that. Yeah, ODA does not run those packets, so they go a whole different. Um, they have a whole different process for every county is different. I know for Multnomah County, you have to get in touch with the county to be on those, but if you are in a district that has more than one person running, it definitely um, serves you to try to get in that guide. Next up, we have Lisa and a slideshow about what each SWCD seats are up for election this year.
So yes, my name is Lisa Kilders and I'm with Clackamas Soil and Water Conservation District, and we are going to talk about the process for getting on the ballot. So if you are interested in running, the packet with all the information and the website is the Oregon Department of Agriculture Natural Resources Program, because they do oversee the Soil and Water Conservation District election process. So you go to oregon.gov/ODA, and this is what you'll find. The next step you'll see across this white bar across the top, and it says Natural Resources. If you click on that toggle, it will show you Soil and Water Conservation Districts. This is really simple. Click on that and you'll see a red Soil and Water Conservation Districts. Click on that and below it will tell you all kinds of things about districts. The elections button is there, but hey, somebody was asking some information about what do board directors do. You can go all the way down to the guidebook that tells you just about everything districts do. So click on the elections and you'll see all kinds of information on directors and eligibility. And remember, for a zone director in Clackamas, Lane, Marion, Multnomah, and Washington counties, you don't need to own any property. Only the counties you need to be, some counties you do need to be a landowner, but not now here. But you do need to be a registered voter, and you have to live in the district or the zone within the zone that you want to run for. For an at-large position, you can live anywhere in the district, but you do have to be a registered voter. So scroll down once you get there, and you'll see election packets. There's two options. Don't click the second one. Click the first one. That's the candidate packet. The second packet is for districts. It tells us how to do things we need to do. You will see all kinds of information here on the right, but you'll have these great dates you'll need to remember. So the first day for candidates to file with ODA is the 16th of July. If you send it to Sandy earlier, she will send it back to you. Once you get your packet you filled out, you will have to get signatures, and you are required to get 10 signatures of registered voters in your district. However, get a few more just in case some of them don't pass the county elections certification. So, and you do have to get that done at your county elections office. But they will not send that to Sandy. So you have to go back and get it. If you're really, really lucky, they may do it for you while you're there, but most of the time you'll have to go back and get it. Then you get that to Sandy. Don't wait like Ben and have a problem, because I have known people who've been screaming down I-5 at the last minute. It has to be received by Sandy by 5 o'clock on the last date. So for incumbents, if you're already a board member and you want to run again, you have to get yours in to Sandy by the 18th of August. The new candidates, you have one extra week, and that's August 25th by 5 p.m. down in Salem. So remember, get those things done. County clerk does not do that for you. And there is, I guess that's all we really actually need to do. Sandy's your person, and she's here tonight. And if you have any questions, she is always very helpful to get those answered. Go ahead and talk a little bit about the districts and what positions they have open. I'm going to start out with Clackamas Soil and Water Conservation District. We have 4 positions on the ballot this fall. We have one in the Boring Sandy and Northeast Clackamas area, one representing Molalla and Southwest Clackamas County. We have the Estacada and Central East Clackamas County position open, and we have one at-large position. So anywhere in the county that you live, you can run for that position. Our board meetings are once a month, the third Tuesday from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and they're hybrid, so you can either come to our office or join us online. And we would love to hear from you. There was a question I see that popped up about committees, and at our district, if you can be an associate director, and you don't have to run for election, and you can learn about us and participate on our committees.
Hi everybody, I'm Casey Jogerst. I'm the district manager over at West Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District. And as you can see here on your screen, we have 3 positions that are up for election this year. And you can see that we have that map on the side, which I know is difficult to tell, but there is a website there that you can go ahead and put your address in just to confirm which zone that you live in. And so we have Zone 4, Zone 5, and so you have to live within those zones in order to run for those positions. And then we have an at-large, where you can live anywhere within the district in order to run for that. We have board meetings, typically on Zoom, and they're 2 hours. I know somebody earlier on this meeting said theirs can go 3, maybe even longer. We're pretty good actually about keeping ours at 2 hours. Our chair is pretty strict about that, so we try to respect people's time and keep it to that. They're on the third Tuesday of every month, and we put Zoom there, but there are a few times throughout the year that we try to meet in person, just to help build those relationships and rapport outside of the screen. And so you can see that there's some additional resources there in terms of our email address, as well as our website, if there's additional information that you'd like to learn about our district. But we look forward to and hope that some of you on this call will be interested in the seats that we have available. Thank you.
I'm Heather. I work at East Multnomah, and most counties in Oregon only have one conservation district, but we are so fortunate in Multnomah County we have two, one on the west side of the Willamette and one on the east side. And so East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District includes the area of Multnomah County east of the Willamette, basically all the way out through the gorge to Bonneville Dam. This year we have a at-large director open and a zone 3 director. So that is the zone that is east of the Sandy River in the Corbett area and beyond. And we're really excited to have an opportunity to open those seats up for new candidates. Our board meetings happen the first Monday of every month, and we also try to stick to 2 hours, but they are in person typically. And we do also hold our district meetings sometimes out in the community. We've had a strong commitment from this board to get out and meet some of our grant recipients and participants in our programs, see some of our projects on the ground. So that's been really fun to do that.
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you. My name is Amy Zimmer. I'm the Communication and Outreach Specialist over at Marion. Angela did a really great job at summarizing our district, but this year we do have 5 seats up for election this year. So that includes Zones 1, Zone 2, 3, Zone 5, and an at-large 2. And so it was asked in the chat what at-large 2 means specifically, and that just indicates that we have a 7-member board. And so we have 5 zone directors, and we have 2 directors that are considered at large. Typically, zone directors have to live within the zone that they are representing. And so as you can see on our map here, a zone 1 director, for example, would have to live in that area that's designated by the 1, and then so on as we go through zones 2, 3, 4, and 5. And an at-large, either an at-large 1 or 2 can live in anywhere within the district boundary. Generally, our district meets the first Wednesday of every month. Our office is located at 408 3rd Street in Stayton. So folks are welcome to join in person, or we do have a hybrid option. We recognize that folks are busy, and we just appreciate you serving on our board, and we want to make it accessible for everyone with our busy schedules and our busy day-to-day lives. So we generally meet from 6:30 to 9. As Angela alluded to previously, we do have our committees, which are just an opportunity for board members to work more closely with individual staff members on different projects. So for us, we have an admin committee that covers more administrative tasks. We have an education and outreach committee, which covers more of the education components of our district, specifically our grants that involve education. And then, that's essentially what our different committees do. So I hope that answers that question, but we can go in more depth on that later. But I am happy to type in a couple of links for folks that are interested in Marion County specifically. And if you need any help, you can either reach out to myself, Sandy, or district manager, and we're happy to get you in touch with the resources you need.
Yeah, so the Upper Willamette Soil and Water Conservation District is located in Eugene and covers a large area of Lane County, eastern and central Lane County, and we have several open seats for election in 2026, Zone 1, Zone 3, Zone 5, and At-Large 2. So you can see on the map that these zones are represented in different areas, and the at-large does not need to live in a particular zone. And we also have a monthly meeting from noon to 2 p.m. Currently, it's the third Tuesday of each month, and the time of our board meetings was set a couple of years ago, but it's certainly open to being changed. We also have hybrid board meetings, and we encourage folks to meet in person as much as possible, but that option is always there. And we also have multiple committees, and if you need any more information about the Upper Willamette Soil and Water Conservation District, I can share our web page, and you can also reach out to me, the district manager, and any of our board members. We have a lot of information on our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and everyone who presented on that. Now we're going to get into the questions, of which there is already quite a lot in the chat, but feel free to put in some more. What management decisions does the board make? So I feel Angela talked a little bit about approving the budget and hiring and managing the district manager. Does anybody else on a board, or perhaps one of the district managers on the call, want to talk about the management decisions that the board makes?
Some of the other things that we do are assisting the district manager in managing staff concerns as they arise. There are a lot of things that we do around management. We do a lot of grants at our board. We have a tax base. Not all SWCDs do have a tax base. We do. And so we make a lot of decisions around minute things around how our budget is managed, but also larger, more broad view scope of practice issues around budgeting. How our grants operate is also something that we spend a lot of time on. We make decisions about how grants are given, who they're given to. So we review all of our grant proposals. Some of those happen in the committees. Some of them happen at the larger board meeting. They're all approved at the larger board meeting, but they might be reviewed at a committee before coming to the board for a recommendation. We don't manage things like supplies or more practical everyday operations. Those are things that our staff manage, but we are there more as guiding the direction. And so just if you think more broadly about anything that involves operations and decision making for the direction that the board is going to go.
Just add into on the direction piece, like we adopted a strategic plan this year, and so that was a big thing that the board was involved in, and all staff as well, that we collaboratively created. And now it's kind of our responsibility as board members to help hold us accountable to what we said we were going to do, and checking in on that and seeing how things are going, and keeping our mission top of mind as decisions are made.
Perhaps someone has already mentioned that everyone on this chat and everyone in the public in general is allowed to come to SWCD board meetings. They're open to the public, and we definitely encourage you to come before and as you are running. So some of our board meeting is next Tuesday evening. Some of the June ones haven't happened yet. There's July, August, September. There's quite a few before the election, so maybe not as many until you have to decide whether you want to run. But that would be a great way to meet board members and chat with them about what they do, and also see what kind of decision making is happening. What contribution you're most proud of as a board member? So Sean, Angela, or Ben, do you want to chime in on that one?
I saw that question, and I was thinking, boy, what it occurred to me is I am proud of being on the board, anytime I have the opportunity to talk to someone about our conservation district and the wonderful things that conservationists do. And my personal little niche, I like to be involved in the early detection, rapid response, weed thing. And invasives maybe is not the word we're supposed to use these days, but that's kind of exciting to me. And I'm proud when I know what our conservationists are doing about things like that. And anytime I can tell people, this is what we do. This is what I mean, it's a lot of things. This is what our person on Sauvie Island does. This is so anyway, that's what makes me proud, is just to be able to sing the praises, frankly, of the conservation district.
Angela?
Yeah.
You coming off?
I really love being able to give the grants because we can see the operations. We get to see the conservation in action. We have done some, I think, really neat things in our district in that we've created different grants for like incorporating new technologies throughout our district and offering opportunities to help lower the cost for people to use those, which have really contributed to things like lowering the amounts of pesticides that are being used in our district. So I think there's a lot of just the on the ground work that's being done because of what we're doing at the district to be able to assist our community in getting these projects completed. We have a lot of different projects throughout our district where we have over 60 partners that we work with. So just the scope and the scale of the work that we're doing, that our staff are doing, is, I think, it really contributes to the health and the welfare of Oregon in general. And so I'm really proud of that.
I would also add, all districts do an annual report, and a lot of us put in a lot of work on those, and that's a really great way to see what your local conservation district has been up to, as far as grantees, partners, yeah, the work that they're most proud of for the year. Let's see. Natalie asked, what qualities are you looking for in a new board member considering the past and looking towards the future? So I would just note that we have 3 board members here, but 5 districts sharing information. So perhaps the 3 board members who are here know of what their boards are looking for in particular, but perhaps they don't. And also there's also other boards like East Multnomah and Clackamas that don't have a board member here to speak on that. But as far as West Multnomah, Marion, or Upper Willamette, do the board members here know of any particular qualities you're looking for?
I know we are losing some very experienced landowners that do have farms or farm production. And so for us, we want to make sure that we maintain that knowledge level, that knowledge base on our board. So we would love to have people that have working farms on our board. The other thing about that is that it's a self-selection process. So yes, we can recruit, but people get to choose if they want to apply, and the board members are selected by the voting public. So so registered voters are the ones that make the decision about who's going to be put on the board. So you may or may not be running opposed. So if you do decide to run, I think getting your voter pamphlet statement into the county clerk so that it's in your county voter pamphlet statement, if you have one, is a really important aspect of running. And I think it's just a good practice as well, so that the people that are voting for you know who they're voting for and what they're voting for. So I will offer that as the current board members don't get to select the next board members.
Attending a meeting, I think, is a really good idea if you're thinking about it. That's what I did. I just got the meeting link before I was really strongly considering running. Went to a meeting, and then also just like reading on the district website, it'll say who the board members currently are, a little bio about them for most districts at least. And so you can kind of get a sense between those two things, like what's this going to be like? Who am I going to be working with? And it's obviously subject to change, but it's a good start.
That is right. And I would add that many, I think all boards, but I don't know. I have associate directors. We do at West Multnomah have associate directors. And if you think, well, I think I would enjoy that, but maybe I'm not ready to run for election. I would suggest that you apply for to be associate director, and then you really get a feel. It's just like being a director, except you don't get to vote on things. But other than that, you are an absolute equal participant, and it's a great way to get your foot in if you're not quite ready to commit to going through the ballot process.
Yeah, I obviously am not a board member. I am a staff member, but I just in my time at the district, I also think it's important to note that, as you know, the board members have mentioned, there's a really wide variety of things that come up at our board meetings, decisions being made, and we all come from very different backgrounds, and we all have different experiences, whether that's land management or professionally, what our interests are. And so I think also just being really open-minded and being willing to be, a good team player, I think is a really important um, aspect of being on the board or contributing, even as an associate on SWCD. So I just think that that's important to note.
I think our board is looking for folks who are just interested and engaged and come to board meetings prepared, read the information before they get there, and kind of come ready to discuss things. So, it's great to have all kinds of backgrounds.
I would say the same, and I'd also just echo what Amy said about, we have a very collaborative board. People really do listen and, hash things out together. And so I think, they would like other people who are equally interested in collaborating.
How closely do we work with ODF&W? So that would be Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. I think that would definitely depend, district per district, program per program. Anyone want to raise their hand if you've had work with ODF&W?
Well, there was a similar question about like Oregon State Parks and some of the other like state organizations, and I know for our district it just really depends.
Yeah.
We do work because we're out in the gorge. We do some work with state parks and the national forest, but that's because of where we're situated.
Yeah, I would also add at Marion SWCD, we do a lot of partnerships. As Angela mentioned, we have over 60 different partnering entities that we work with. And so whether that's specifically on grant projects, inviting their technical expertise, or whether that's, we've hosted multiple events up at Silver Falls, for example, Silver Falls State Park. And so we've had ODFW staff come and table at different outreach events that we host. And so the magnitude of our collaboration is variable by what the event or project is, but we certainly have opportunities. And as a board member, you're certainly welcome to participate in those activities.
Yeah, I would say I don't want to spend too much time on this question because it is so variable. It would be a great question to ask if you went to your board meeting, or if you just emailed your info at email for whichever district you live in. Are most responsibilities limited to nights and weekends? I know at West Multnomah, all of our board meetings are in the evening. It looked like that was the case for most districts. There was one that had the 4 to 6 meeting. I know some of our committees meet during the day. Most board meetings are in the evening, and then your prep time before that. How do the conservation districts statewide connect and collaborate? What do you feel are some opportunities to do so in the future? I know obviously this event is a collaboration between 5 districts. I know the us comms folks love to collaborate with each other. Board of directors collaborate with each other. I don't know about that happening. I just want to make sure we are sticking to questions about boards of directors at this time, and Does anyone on a board have anything to say about collaboration?
Yeah, so there's at least 2 meetings a year that we are as board members invited to that are statewide. And so we obviously encourage our directors to go to those to meet staff and directors or management from other districts as well. But those are a great way to collaborate and to just meet other people from other conservation districts or watersheds or other areas involved in conservation that we collaborate with on a regular basis.
SWCD's focus on private land. Do they pay attention to public land issues? Um, Pay attention to for sure. If anyone wants to chime in on a little bit of if there's any work, yeah, Lisa, go ahead.
We work a lot with our invasive species programs, and I think we partner with other districts in the area too. And because a lot of the wade problems start up in the watershed, so we work a lot with the U.S. Forest Service and the Department of Forestry, Oregon Department of Forestry, BLM. So we do partner with, we do projects on those lands as well. So I think a lot of the other districts do too.
I would say with our new, our current board and a relatively new director, Kelly Beamer has been more involved. They've been more involved in sort of, I would say, kind of advocacy or like monitoring different policy changes that are affecting the environment for conservation in our district and kind of weighing in on plans or submitting comments, things like that, that are both affecting private and public lands. So I think that's one of the ways that districts can be involved in public land activities.
The next question was Alex, does the Portland Green Energy fund any of the board's projects? That would be a question for those districts that work in Portland. So Casey or Heather, do you know of anything like that?
I can speak to that. I mean, first, I just want to clarify that, projects that are being done by soil and water conservation districts aren't really board projects. The projects are carried out by staff, and again, the board provides guidance and is advisory. And it depends that there are some projects that there are grants that are funded through the Portland Clean Energy Fund Act in conjunction with maybe projects that the district is doing. I don't believe that our district has any that we have directly, applied for or have been provided those funds for our projects because we're using our tax base to primarily fund the projects that we're doing, but there could be sort of that supplemental with the people that we're working with who have maybe applied for grants to be able to do more with a little bit more money.
We kind of the same answer. We try to not apply for grants since we do have a tax base. When we received that tax base, I think there was kind of a decision that the SWCD, as an SWCD, we wouldn't apply for grants, but unless it was in collaboration with our partners, we didn't want to be competing with them for scarce resources.
Please explain more about committees. Are there members of committees who are not board members? I think boards have committees overall that sometimes have staff on them, or associate directors might be other members of committees, such as like the Long Range Business Plan Creation Committee might be a staff, some staff, some board, some associate directors, maybe a personnel committee to hire a district manager when that needs to happen, something like that. Anyone want to say any other kind of committees that happen? We have like a DEI committee right now.
All of our committees have our policy actually requires that all of our committees have associate directors, and staff.
And we recently created an ad hoc committee when we were going through this land acquisition process. So, not all of them are going to be the whole tenure of your position necessarily.
Sandy is ODA staff person, Oregon Department of Agriculture, and she makes sure these elections run smoothly. So we invite her in case there's any questions about running, specifically like election related questions.
I was going to make a point on the last one too. The budget committee didn't get mentioned. And I know for some districts, along with board members and associate directors and maybe staff, that they also have members of the public on some of those too.
Definitely members of the public is part of the budget committee guidelines as well. Tamara asked, I understand the board wants to represent a diversity of backgrounds and lived experiences. What practice does the board currently or intend to implement to support minority voices in particular, if any? I mean, I can speak to West Multnomah. We have a long-range business plan is what we call it. It's like a 5-year, 6-year strategic plan that has a lot of goals that represent equity, race, those types of things. So you can read more about that in our strategic plan. Yeah, does anyone else have an answer for this question?
I would say I would add to that. I know obviously right now in the current climate, DEI and is a hot topic, and I think that the SWCDs collectively, in my experience, are very inclusive and very appreciative of the diverse backgrounds that our communities that we serve can bring and can offer the district, and we really lean into working with everyone in our community and acknowledging everyone. And it is our goal to meet people where they're at, and wherever they are on their conservation journey, and that includes everyone. And
So that's definitely true for our district. Equity is one of sort of the 3 pillars of our mission and organization. We have a strong equity commitment from our board and a strong equity action plan.
Yeah, I would second or third that, I guess. And, with the added context that, it's very recent that the landowner requirement was removed. And so, yeah, there's still a lot of work to do to make
And that
up
was due to advocacy from a lot of people that are represented in this call tonight.
This outreach event of this webinar is a way that we're trying to reach out and have more people hear about SWCDs and have more people run and diversify boards specifically to represent the people that the district represents. Let's see if there's any more. I just noticed one in the chat from Jennifer that said, I first found out about Clackamas SWCD by searching for volunteer events, such as cleaning up parks, pulling invasives. Are you aware of any opportunities like this? And is this the kind of thing a board member could organize?
I answered that one for her.
Say that again?
I answered that one for her.
Oh, great.
It wasn't us. It was Clackamas River Basin Council.
Oh, okay. But I would say events are typically organized by staff, but like outreach staff, but it is definitely the kind of thing that staff want board members to come to and help spread the word about.
We're a very collaborative group of people, and we tend to get along pretty well. I think that there are opportunities where maybe board members might disagree about something, but we try to do that very respectfully, and we have rules. I'm sure most of the committees do, or boards do, around how we engage with one another in our meetings, and hopefully outside of our meetings. But that hasn't been a problem so far that I know of.
There was a question about how the district managers are hired, and I'm not sure it's the same in every district, but I know, our executive director reports to the board, and we're the ones that hired our district manager.
Okay, I think we can probably call this done. Thanks all for joining us. If you have any more questions, please reach out to your SWCD.